What do you do when the hand that feeds you also bruises your face? Keisha had never asked for much, just enough to send her daughter Zara to college, pay off the credit cards, maybe one day own a small boutique where she wouldn't have to say, "Yes, ma'am," every morning. But life doesn't care about quiet dreams. It started with a slap. Not the first, maybe not the last, but something in her shifted that morning. A boiling pot, a shattered plate, a cheek that burned, and a text message on her phone. Final notice. $7,250 due by tomorrow, or we proceed with legal action. Her name was never written in gold. No one would call her strong. But they were wrong, because that morning, as she bled quietly on the kitchen floor, she wasn't thinking of fear. She was thinking of freedom, of fire, of a reckoning. But the slap, what was it really for? Stick around, because in the next few seconds, you'll learn why a single slap became the spark that lit up everything she thought she had buried. Pain, pride, power, all waiting in silence until it couldn't wait anymore. She sighed, pressing the phone to her chest like it could somehow quiet the weight in her heart. She didn't have the money. And Zara's tuition was hanging by a thread. Then a voice cut through the room like a whip. "You deaf now? I've been calling you." She turned quickly. "It's almost ready." "Almost." Marcus marched over, scooped a spoonful from the pot, tasted it, and spat it out. "You call this food?" Before she could speak, his hand flew. The slap echoed. Her body hit the counter. A glass shattered and silence followed. She didn't cry. She crouched slowly, gathered the broken pieces with bleeding fingers. No flinch, no sound, only breath. And then she looked up, eyes no longer soft, face no longer pleading. That was the moment she chose. She would not bow again. Not to him. She rose slowly from the floor, wiping the blood from her finger with the edge of her apron. Her face was calm, too calm. He had already stormed out, muttering curses, unaware that something had shifted. She didn't scream, didn't argue. She cleaned the mess, served the food, and walked back into her small bedroom at the back of the apartment. Inside, the bed was thin, the air stuffy, and the phone on the nightstand buzzed again. Another reminder. Another slap. This time from reality. $7,250. No options. No help. No time. She sat down and stared at the wall, listening to the sounds in the apartment. The ticking clock, the distant laugh of the man who just slapped her. And then slowly she reached under her pillow and pulled out a small worn address book. In it, names, numbers, favors owed, memories not yet forgotten. Her fingers paused on one name, crossed out but not erased. She stared at it, then looked away. Not yet. Not him. She shut the book and whispered to herself, "Tomorrow is too late. Tonight something must change." She left the apartment before dawn broke. No breakfast, no goodbye. Just the soft click of the door as it closed behind her. A scarf covered the side of her face, not for fashion, but for silence. She walked fast, not looking at anyone, heading straight to a part of Detroit she had avoided for years. The building looked smaller than she remembered. The walls were tagged with graffiti. The air smelled of rust and old rain. She paused in front of apartment 2B and gave it 2 short knocks. Jerome opened it with a long stare, saying nothing. His face was thinner now, his eyes colder. She held his gaze. "I didn't come to beg," she said. "I just need work. Anything." Still no smile, no welcome. He stepped back, letting her pass. Inside, the apartment was quiet, thick with old secrets. She didn't ask questions. She didn't sit. She just stood there, knowing this was the place her fight would begin, even if it meant facing the very man she once promised never to see again. He didn't say much, just asked if she could still clean offices. She said yes. He pointed to the back room where cleaning supplies waited. She walked in, pulled her jacket tighter, and got to work. The office building smelled of disinfectant and old coffee. She scrubbed floors with industrial mops, wiped windows with professional squeegees, and emptied trash from dozens of cubicles. No questions, just the job. Every second reminded her why she came alone. Zara, her pride still sore from the slap, but her hands didn't stop moving. By late evening, she heard his footsteps. He stood at the doorway, watched her for a while, then handed her a small white envelope. No words, no thanks. She opened it. $100 cash. It wasn't even close to what she needed, but it felt like something. "Come back tomorrow," he said. She nodded and left. Outside, the streetlights hit her face. She didn't cry. Just walked slowly, the money tucked deep in her purse. On the way home, she bought ramen and peanuts. That night, she sat by the window, thinking of the balance left and the days ahead. Something had shifted. She wasn't just working. She was fighting back. The apartment building looked the same. Same chipped paint, same broken intercom. She stood there for a moment, staring like she was waiting for it to judge her. The $100 she earned was tucked inside her wallet, wrapped in tissue like cash could bleed. But it wasn't enough. That morning another text came. $7,150 left. Default again and we garnish your wages. She knocked twice. It was Jerome again. He stared at her like she was a ghost. "You came back." She gave a small nod. No words, just a smile that felt like it might crack her face. Inside smelled of pine sol and something colder. His girlfriend wasn't around, but he was sitting in the same recliner watching Netflix on his tablet. He didn't say anything when she entered, just glanced once when she dropped her bag near the kitchenette. That 1 second stretched long. Then she turned away and went straight to the sink. Dishes were waiting, soaked in greasy water. She scrubbed in silence, each scrape louder than the TV. He didn't move. Neither did she. But something shifted, quiet and firm. She wasn't the same woman who left. She came back different. Days blended into each other. She cleaned offices, scrubbed floors, emptied trash, and kept her eyes focused. Jerome never mentioned her past, never spoke more than necessary, but he watched sometimes from the doorway, sometimes through reflections in windows when she worked. She felt it, the quiet observation. It didn't scare her like before, just made her more careful. Then one afternoon, while she was restocking paper towels in a law firm's bathroom, she found something. A thick manila envelope had fallen behind the toilet, bulging with what looked like documents and something heavier. She looked around. Not a soul in sight. She waited, heart pounding, scanning the hallway, but no one came. Carefully she picked it up. Inside was more than just papers. Bundles of cash she had never held before, and a brand new iPhone that gleamed like it didn't belong in a bathroom. Her hands shook. She sat on the bathroom floor, staring at the treasure. Her first thought was fear. Who could have dropped something this valuable? What if someone came back for it? But after waiting 20 minutes and still seeing no one, she wrapped it back in the envelope and quietly slipped it into her cleaning cart. Even as she finished her shift, she wasn't sure if she had done the right thing or walked into something dangerous. The next morning, while she was getting ready for work, the strange iPhone began to ring. The screen lit up with a number she didn't recognize. Nervously she answered. A calm male voice asked, "Did you by any chance find something that doesn't belong to you?" Her hands froze. She hesitated, then spoke honestly. "Yes, I found an envelope yesterday in one of the offices I clean." There was a pause. Then the voice said, "And the phone?" She confirmed she had it too. He didn't shout, didn't threaten. Instead he asked for her address. Without hiding, she gave it. Hours later, a black Escalade pulled up near her apartment building. 2 men stepped out, well-dressed and polite. They handed her a sealed envelope and smiled. "We were watching," one of them said. It was a test. Most people would have lied or kept it. She stood stunned as they told her it was planted on purpose. "You've proved something rare," the other added. You're honest, even when no one's looking. Before they left, they promised she'd hear from them again. She stood by her door, clutching the new envelope, heart beating fast. For the first time in a long while, it wasn't out of fear but hope. Days later she got another call. This time it was an invitation. A foundation run by the men had decided to reward her. At their downtown office, they handed her a check. Enough to clear every penny of her debt, enough to pay Zara's tuition in full. They even gave her a business grant to open a cleaning service of her own. She wept there in front of everyone, thanking them, thanking God. Keisha's Cleaning Solutions opened 2 weeks later, painted fresh, filled with commercial equipment, and carrying her name on the storefront. She now walks with pride through her neighborhood. Neighbors greet her differently. No more shame, no more debt. Zara is thriving in college and there's always food on their table. She doesn't work for anyone anymore. She owns something built not just on luck, but on truth. Sometimes your integrity is the key that opens unexpected doors. This woman didn't have much, but she had character. And when the world tested her, she didn't fail. In a time when many would lie for survival, she chose honesty. And it changed her life forever. Let her story remind you. Even in silence, someone may be watching. Do good. Be true. Pace. What did you learn? That resilience isn't loud. That dignity can survive even in broken places. That even when the world turns cold, one act of honesty or courage can still light a way forward. Stories like this aren't just fiction. They mirror real struggles, silent battles, and the quiet strength many carry every day. If this story touched you, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories that reflect real lives and silent strength. Let's keep these voices heard and these truths alive.